Now, last week we had the Conservative candidate for London Mayor on this programme, Zach Goldsmith. I asked him if he would publish his tax return, as the leading candidates did in the last mayoral election. He said he would, and yesterday he delivered a letter from his accountant with the important figures in it. Headline: he had an average income of £1.2 million a year over the last 5 years, most of that itemised as trust income. Well, that background highlights a very big contrast to the Labour candidate, Sadiq Khan. Mr Khan likes to remind us that he was brought up on a council estate, one of 8 children of parents who'd moved here from Pakistan. It's not the only contrast with Zach Goldsmith. The EU divides them too. Mr Khan wants to stay in, Zach wants to leave. Sadiq Khan joins us now. Very good evening to you. Thanks for coming. Just on your tax return, I know you've said you're going to publish it. When are we going to see that?
In the next couple of days. I think we're publishing tomorrow.
Right. And are we going to find anything interesting out in it, or is it as boring as most people's?
They may be less interesting than Zach's, but I'll publish tomorrow. You can judge for yourself.
Right. It's sort of interesting, isn't it? Background has been a bit of an issue in these London mayoral elections to some extent. Do you feel that? I mean, you've talked about Zach Goldsmith. You've said he's someone who's never had a proper job. He was given one by his uncle. I just wonder whether background is a...
I hope Zach's background's not relevant. I talk about my background because it defines who I am. I'm proud of the fact that I'm one of 8 children, son of immigrants. I went from a council estate to becoming a lawyer, helping run a successful business, to be a transport minister, attending cabinet. With the helping hand that London gave my family, we fulfilled our potential because of the joys of London. And my motivation is too many Londoners now aren't getting the chances that me, my brothers and my sister had.
The Evening Standard, the main London newspaper, has not focused on, but has drawn attention to your former brother-in-law, who was really quite radicalised in the 90s. He's renounced all of that, and he's no longer with your sister, and you don't see him much. You're not in contact with him now, so no one could point that at you. But that experience must have been a very difficult one for your family, was it? Or?
It was. Look, I mean, I'm really pleased you've asked me that. I mean, throughout my political career, I've never run away from the fact that I think tackling extremism and radicalisation is very, very important. I was the guy who had a fatwa against him because I voted for same-sex marriage. I'm the guy, when I stood for Parliament, extremist campaign outside the mosque, telling the congregation that I was going to hell because I was helping make man-made law, and those who voted for me were going to hell as well. But I've also talked about, Evan, my experiences as a British Muslim, coming across views which I find abhorrent, offensive, odious, and actually most British Muslims will have come across some of these views, and it's difficult. And I've talked about it because I think it's important as somebody in a position of responsibility, somebody held out as a role model, to talk about these things. But there is no other city in the world that I'd want to raise my daughters. London is fantastic, and, you know, my story is a story of many, many immigrants to London and their children and grandchildren over 1,000 years.
But look, I don't want to pry, but in your family, you've got the father of your nephews and nieces on stage in Trafalgar Square saying things that most people would regard as fairly ridiculous. And I'm just... Did you intervene? Was it like a crisis for the family? Or was this, being before 9/11, was this kind of just something that people did? I mean, I can't quite picture how it would have been.
I've not seen my sister's ex-husband for more than 10, 11, 12 years. It's a matter of public record, the views that I have versus the views that he had. I think he's explained himself. It's for him to explain himself. You know, I don't speak of him. But what's important is this, you know, we live in a fantastic city, a city where Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Buddhists, those who aren't a member of an organised faith, not simply tolerate one another, but respect and celebrate difference. I think actually one of the important things is for us to recognise that, you know, in London, there are more than 1 million Londoners of Islamic faith. The vast, 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 vast majority will find those sorts of views offensive and want nothing to do with them.
Do you think, I mean, because housing and migration are clearly issues in the London election, they're issues nationally, let's face it. Is there a link between the two? Maybe one that's not often talked about, that in London the population's grown by 1 million in the last 10 years. We haven't built houses for an extra 1 million people, and maybe that's why it's so difficult to get a house. I mean, is that...
Well, successive governments have failed London. Our population currently is 8.6 million. By 2020 it'll be 9 million. By 2030, 10 million. Growth per se ain't bad. It's lack of planning for growth. So we've got to build genuinely affordable homes for Londoners. There's no point in building homes if they're sold off-plan to investors in the Middle East and Asia before they've been completed.
But if you're not going to build the homes, you could say, and people do say, if you're not going to build the homes, then you better not let the population grow like that. I suppose that's the argument. But
well, no, you look at, I talked about London's history over 1,000 years. We've been open to trade, ideas and people. One of the reasons why we're so successful is because over successive generations, brave politicians have taken tough decisions to, build Crossrail 1, to plan Crossrail 2, to build genuinely affordable homes for Londoners. Say first dibs to Londoners, to skill up Londoners to have the jobs for tomorrow, to make a healthier and safer London. So, look, I think what's important is for us to recognise successive governments have failed London. We need a mayor with the experience and the political will to build the genuinely affordable homes for Londoners.
OK. Now, I just want to talk about your political positioning, because it's been quite interesting, if I may say. You spoke to The Spectator magazine and you said, I welcome the fact that we've got 140-plus billionaires in London. That's a good thing. I welcome the fact there are 400,000 millionaires. Did you really say that?
Absolutely. Look, I want to be a mayor for all Londoners, whether you're a billionaire, whether you're a millionaire, whether you're a chief executive, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a junior doctor, whether you're a bus driver or a dinner lady.
Give the whole list of them.
Well, it's really important.
So you'll go to Shanghai with the chief executive of Barclays Bank sitting next to you in a first-class seat. You'll go and lead a trade delegation out there and bat for the great banks in London, the City of London, and drum up business, will you? Unashamedly.
The financial sector creates lots of jobs, growth, and brings investment to London, as does the tech sector, creative industries.
But will you do that? Will you?
Of course I will.
You will.
I will be batting for London. And by the way, I will join the Conservative Chancellor when it's in the interests of London. I will join a Conservative Prime Minister to argue for us to stay in the European Union. Do you know why? Because I want to be a champion for London, an advocate for London, dare I say, a shop steward for London.
This is the weird thing, because you were the guy who nominated Jeremy Corbyn in the leadership election. Jeremy Corbyn has said, Peter Mandelson has talked scathingly about Peter Mandelson, saying he was intensely relaxed about the filthy rich. You're as Mandelsonian, as more Mandelsonian than Mandelson. Corbyn has said this is the time more than ever to call for public ownership and control of the banking system. This is only 2012. This isn't ancient history, he was saying that. I mean, you're completely different end of the party.
Well, let me tell you something. Jeremy Corbyn's name is not on the ballot paper on May the 5th, nor is David Cameron's or Boris Johnson's. So I'm going to be my own man, Evan. I want to be the advocate and champion for London.
You were talking one thing when you were getting the selection, and you've changed your tune completely.
To be fair to me, which I know you want to be, when I nominated Jeremy Corbyn, I made quite clear I had no intention of voting for Jeremy Corbyn. During the selection process, when asked the question, if I was unsuccessful being the Labour candidate for mayor, would I serve in Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet? I said no. I was clear during the selection process what my views were.
Right, so you regret selecting him?
Because look,
let me explain.
You're trying to have it both ways. We've lost 2 general elections in a row badly. The idea of the elite in Westminster blocking a candidate who was clearly popular to Labour supporters from being on the ballot paper, what I think have been wrong. It's really important that the Labour movement got a chance to choose from a cross-section of candidates. And by the way, Jeremy Corbyn won amongst the members, amongst the trade union supporters and amongst registered supporters. And I think what's important is to understand that I'm the guy standing to be the mayor for London for the Labour Party. Jeremy's got a very important job to do as leader of the Labour Party. As the champion for London, sometimes I'll disagree with Jeremy Corbyn. We disagree on many issues. Just like on some things, I'll agree with the Conservative Prime Minister, the Conservative Chancellor, the Home Secretary, Business Secretary, Defence Secretary, to argue for London to stay an integral part of the European Union for economic benefits, social benefits, cultural benefits and security as well.
Sadiq Khan, thanks very much.